right, here we go. So before I log into Edpuzzle, if this is a new tool for you, Edpuzzle is a great formative assessment option. It is basically a tool that allows you to create interactive video lessons. So you can take a video either that you find, say, through YouTube or Khan Academy, or one that perhaps you upload of your own. You can take that video, embed questions, whether they're multiple choice, open-ended. You can include your voice narration within the video. You can trim videos, crop out unneeded material. You can even include, say, images and other files that you want students to access while they're engaging in that video. All of the data and information, once students complete it, comes back to you in a nice, easy to read report. So we're going to show you all those features. And again, if you have any questions at the end, you can certainly let me know, and hopefully we can answer those for you. So to get started, you're going to click Login, and you're going to select that you're a teacher. And Edpuzzle integrates beautifully with Google. So go ahead and sign in with Google. Choose your school account. All right, and then once you're in here, you're going to be automatically starting at your content channel library. This is where any videos that you either edit, you assign to students, or that you copy into your library will be stored for you to access. As you start to get more material in here, if it gets like, a little bit long or the stream becomes a little untidy, you can always search for content right here in this search bar. If you do search here, though, just keep in mind, you're only searching your own videos. So you're not searching all of Edpuzzle. So if something doesn't come up, that might be why. There's some other channels I'm going to point out to you here in a little bit. But before we do that, you need to have classes in Edpuzzle. So the first step is going to be to go over here where it says My Classes. And this is where you can add classes to Edpuzzle. You can do it in a couple ways. You can either add a class simply by clicking Add New Class and then just creating a name. You will get an invite code that you can give to students so that when they log in, they put the invite code in, and then they're inside your Edpuzzle classroom. A better option, if you use Google Classroom, might be to import that class through Google Classroom. And the benefit of doing that is that you can then post any video lessons right to Google Classroom from Edpuzzle. You can also export grades at the end of an assignment back to Google Classroom. So it helps you manage that workflow a little bit more efficiently. So I can click Add New Class. I can choose Google Classroom, and hopefully this doesn't lag too long. Nope. Okay, so and then I can select the classes here and then click Import. And then this little icon here is letting me know that that's a Google Classroom imported class in Edpuzzle. All right, so while I'm here, I can click on Students. This is where I can view the students in my class. I can click here to see any assignments that might be already shared with the students. I can see how many have turned it in, when the start date was. There's also class options. Yep.
Would you please talk a little bit slower? There's a little bit of lag coming in.
Okay.
So it's not breaking up.
Okay, good to know. Class options is where you can go to change a name. You can also delete the class down the road if you need to. All right, so we're going to come back here later to take a look at the Gradebook feature. But so far, we've logged into Edpuzzle. We have added new classes. So the next step is going to be to find content. And you can do this in a few different ways. Is this a little bit slower, Ben?
It's fantastic.
Okay, I'm not used to talking slow. As I mentioned, the My Content channel is your library. So that's where any of those videos are stored. You're going to notice that when you first log into Edpuzzle, it's going to ask you some questions like what school do you teach at, what grade level, what content. That's because they're going to try to customize some of the videos to you. So you're going to notice, for example, I have my school right here. When I click on it, I can see the teachers in my school and some of the content that they have shared on the Edpuzzle library. Curriculum is Edpuzzle's curation for you. So they've taken some of what they consider to be good quality video lessons that have already been made. They have put them into categories, and then within those categories into content or larger topics. So let's say I didn't have something really specific in mind, but I know I needed something for a social emotional lesson. I can click on that and then go through and see some of the videos that have already been turned into lessons. And then lastly, up at the top is the home button. And I kind of equate this to like Netflix's recommended viewings. I don't know how helpful it is, but basically it's trying to kind of like take your questions that you answered and customize Edpuzzle for you. So I specified language arts. So here's what's happening in my school in language arts. Here's what's trending in language arts. Here's what's going on in Illinois. Here's what's trending in the United States. So I don't know, kind of interesting, I guess, if you want to get a pulse on what's some of the popular topics or skills being worked on, but probably not the most helpful. Where you're going to be where you will find that you're spending the bulk of your time when you're searching for content is down here in the popular channels. So let's say that you wanted to see lessons that have already been created by teachers in Edpuzzle. I'm just going to go ahead and type in dividing fractions. So if I click on Edpuzzle here, these are lessons that these videos have either maybe come from YouTube or screencasts that teachers have uploaded, perhaps Khan Academy, but they've already been made into an interactive lesson. So if I hover right here over this little pinpoint, it's going to tell me that this particular lesson has 8 questions or notes inside of it. So you can kind of gauge before you open it just how many questions might be there. There's some other icons here. Let's see if I can find one. This megaphone one is telling me that this particular lesson has audio interactions. So you can kind of, again, it's just giving you a little bit of information before you actually click inside of it. I can start clean, and let's say I don't want to put a video in that already has some questions inside. I can just go to YouTube. Notice that what I'm searching stays for me right up here in the search bar, so I don't have to keep re-entering it, which is kind of a helpful little bit. I can go to Khan Academy. I doubt National Geographic is going to have anything on dividing fractions, Crash Course, but here are some of the popular channels. If you already had a video that you want to add, you don't need to search Edpuzzle. You can go right to, say, YouTube, grab the URL right here, copy and paste it right in here, and it will come up for you. So you can always add a video that you already have. The other option is your own videos. So I'm going to go back to my content. Remember, this is your library. And if I wanted to, say, upload a screencast that I made and I want to further enhance it by adding maybe some questions for my students to answer, I can click on this Add Content button and choose Upload a Video. Here's where I can select a file from my Downloads folder. This video.
Hello, my sweet friend.
Oh boy. Okay, hold on. Okay, this video, when it's done uploading, will then be placed right here in my content, so that I can start editing it, which I'll show you in just a little bit, and add some questions to it. One other feature that's kind of newer to Edpuzzle, and I have to be honest, I haven't done a whole lot with it, is the student project one. So let's say that you don't want to make the video for your students, but rather you want the students to show their understanding by making their own Edpuzzle video. So I could type in some instructions, find a video that synthesizes the steps to dividing fractions, and then give them maybe some instructions. You must include 3 questions in your video and 2 audio notes. Once I click Save Project, what's going to happen then is that is going to be at the bottom right here of my content. So I can click on this and I can click Assign. And let's say I assign it to a class. I can post it right to Google Classroom. And we're going to go over some of this a little bit later. But when I click Assign, the students are going to be prompted when they click on that link to make their own Edpuzzle video rather than accessing mine. All right. So let's go back to, actually, let's do this. Just because this is maybe lagging a little bit, rather than editing an Edpuzzle video that already has questions in, I'm going to start with just a clean video and hope that that speeds things up a little bit. So Ben and I were thinking about what could be a good video to do for this, and what better than the Trolls World Tour trailer. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this URL. I'm going to pop back. Go ahead.
Megan, really quickly, one thing that we found is when you put something in your classwork, it does drop to the bottom of your classwork. It's not going to be at the top. So if when you're going and looking at it, just understand that the students may have to scroll down to find it. So that's just one thing to think about.
Are you talking about when you post it in Google Classroom?
Correct.
Yes. And I will talk a little bit about that later, because you also might want to go into Google Classroom and do a little editing after you post it so that you can put a topic on it. You can move it where you want it to go. But yeah, it will go to the bottom. Does not go to the top of that stream.
One more quick question.
Sure.
While we're waiting for stuff. Currently, with our subscription, is there a limit to the number of videos and content, or?
Yes. So the premium, or I should say the free version of Edpuzzle, all these features exist. You can do all of the embedding questions, voiceover narration, all of that, but you are allowed 20 videos at a time in your content library. So I would not be able to have more than 20 sitting in here. You can assign it as many times as you want. That does not affect anything. Like if you assign it to 5 classes, that's not saying you have 5 videos. It's just the actual video itself. So unless your school was to purchase, say, the Pro plan, you would just have to be a little creative with how you might move videos in and out of your content library.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so let's look at how we would actually go about editing a video to add questions, narration, and some of that good stuff. So I'm going to go and just paste that Trolls trailer link right here. And as soon as you do that, it's going to open up here for you in this editing window. You're going to notice that the first thing that you can do is cut the video. So if you wanted to say like trim a little bit off the beginning,
cute, right? Not to me. I'm the type of cloud that go.
Maybe you even want to cut something out in the middle. I can click add cut here. And then I can say, you know what, let's just remove this section from the video. They don't need that. So you can do some of that. You can even, trim a little bit off at the end. So basically tailor that video to be exactly what the students need so that they're not watching excess unneeded information. I'm gonna go ahead and click reset here on this though. So once you've done that, the next thing is that you can, if you'd like to, add a voiceover. So I'm gonna click up here where it says voiceover. And then this is gonna allow me to basically place this black dot wherever I want to insert a voiceover. And a voiceover is going to mute the video and have your voice going over it instead. So what a perfect way to maybe explain a concept or give further information to a student. And again, it's not being heard over the video. The video would be silent and your voice would be nice and clear. So to do that, I can click start recording. I'm talking right now. As I'm talking, this is recording. And then when I click stop recording, here is my 4-second voiceover. Notice that it's this little yellow piece down here. I can move it wherever I want to put it. So if I accidentally added it in a spot that I didn't want it, that's not a big deal. If it was something that I needed to redo, you just hit the trash can and try again. All right. All right. And then the last thing here is the questions. So I'm going to click up here where it says questions. Now, wherever this little black dot is, that's where it's going to place that question. And again, you can move it later if you decide that that wasn't the right spot. Your choice when it comes to embedding questions are either multiple choice, which automatically grades for you, and students can select more than one answer for the multiple choice. So that's a really nice feature. Open-ended question, which naturally you would grade. Or you can add a note, which isn't essentially a question, but a way for you to give maybe further information, or perhaps you want to direct them to a paired text, or you want them to look at an image that goes with the video, whatever that might be. So once you click inside one of these choices, you'll see that this dialog box right here always stays the same. You have these features. You can do a little bit of formatting with the bold, italics, underline. You can add a hyperlink. So again, a different file or resource. You can add an image, or there's the equation editor for math. This was running a little slow, so I'm not sure if this is going to open, but typically when you're not screencasting and sharing your screen, all this down here that's just gray would be all the different equation editor that you could put into your question. All right, so I could go ahead here and type in some different answers. I can add more choices. The only thing you need to make sure you do is mark what is correct with the check and what is incorrect with the X. And again, you can have multiple correct answers. So maybe these 3 are correct. And that will be automatically graded for you. It's not letting me save it because I don't have anything typed here. Now I can save it, and you'll notice that I have this little dot right here. And again, you can move it if it wasn't the right spot. All right. Open-ended question. Naturally, you just type in your question, or you direct them to where you want to direct them to, or include the image, click save. Or your other option was a note. So this is where you can either write a note or you can record your voice note here. Unlike the narration, it's not going to be played over the video. The video will stop, and then your voice note or your written note would come up for the students to respond to or interact with.
Tour, I'm going to turn all the...
Any questions about any of the editing or any of those things we just covered? Ben, how are we doing?
There aren't any questions right now.
Okay, great.
You're doing a great job, and I can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you. When you have this set up exactly as you want, you're going to go ahead and you're going to click this little finish button up in the corner. And then from here, you're going to be able to do a few different things. You can assign it right here to students. And again, if you assign it to a Google Classroom, I can just right here go post on Google Classroom, and it will post that for me. I can turn on closed captioning. I can prevent skipping, which means students would be watching it. They can't skip past it. The other thing we noticed too about Edpuzzle is when students start a video, they cannot open up another, well, they can open up another tab, but the video stops. It won't keep playing in the background for them. So it really is, I guess, forcing, for lack of a better word, them to interact with that particular video. I can just save it for later, or I can click assign and it's going to go right to that class. If I don't want to assign it, but rather just get the link and share that link with them, I could do that as well. But when you assign it, you're able to track the data and get some really valuable information back to you. The other thing I could do is I could continue to edit. I could duplicate this if I wanted to, maybe make another copy for a different class and just tweak a few little things, or I can click delete and just, remove it completely. All right, so I wanted to show you too, because this I thought was kind of helpful. I'm going to go back here to Edpuzzle and type in dividing fractions. I think that this might be a common way for you to maybe start with one that already has questions in place, and you maybe just need to do some editing or deleting a few or adding a few. So to do that, when I click on this particular video, you're going to notice that these questions are here and ready for me to view. So if I click on it, it's going to go ahead and take me right to that question. What is the answer to this problem? If I want to go back and see what some of those other questions were, I can just click rewatch and click on the next question. So you can kind of, get a feel for what is already in place in this video that you might want to edit or keep. Another nice feature is down here. It's going to give me 40 other video versions of this exact video. And it will do this for all the videos that you select through that Edpuzzle library. So if you wanted to see perhaps this video, but what are some other teachers doing with it, you can click here to do that. Down here are similar videos, so not that same one, but ones that also have to do with dividing fractions for me to look at. I can also share this. So if I wanted to maybe take this video and send it to my PLC and say, check out this, it might be great for our students, you can go ahead and just copy that link and share it directly with your students. If I copy this, what that's going to do is take this video, and rather than me editing it right now, it's going to place it in my library so that I can come back to it later and either assign it or edit it. All right. Any questions, Ben?
Not that I see.
Okay. Well, then the last thing then I want to make sure that we cover is the data that you get back, the formative assessment piece of this. So once you've assigned these video lessons to your students, you're able to go back to that grade book that we talked about at the beginning. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and you're going to have to bear with me here because I started this class when I was in the classroom. So I have to get back to 2015 and then I can show you what I want to show you. Okay, that should do it. All right, so your gradebook looks like this. You can see the assignments up here at the top that you've assigned through Edpuzzle. The students' names are here. I can go ahead and click right inside their score. You'll notice that they color coded, so it gives you that really quick, nice glance. You can start to see, okay, which students have mastered these concepts, which ones are working on them still, and then perhaps which ones are really struggling with the red. So I can go ahead and say, click on Ava here. I get some nice information, tells me how long she spent total on this particular assignment. The timestamp is here. I can also see if she rewatched any sections, because those numbers, that's what those numbers are indicating there. And if I scroll down, I can see the questions that she answered. So I could leave her a comment directly right here for specific questions. I can override. So if something gets marked correct that needs to be changed or vice versa, you can make those changes there. This is also where you would go if you needed to hand grade, I'm going to go ahead and switch a class really quick. If you needed to hand grade any of the open-ended questions. So for example, this characterization quiz had an open-ended question. So down here, I would have to go in, mark it correct, and I can put in the total amount of points there. And again, you have the comment feature and all of that. Another nice way to see quickly how students are doing on certain concepts is by just clicking on the actual assignment rather than the students individually. So if I click up at the top, I'm going to get in one nice quick glance who's not turned it in yet, who has turned it in, how much they've watched of it, what their score was. And you're going to notice here is that update on Google Classroom. So this is where I can click that, and those scores and those grades are going to get exported to Google Classroom. It marks it as turned in, and then students get notified that their Edpuzzle has been graded and returned to them. So again, that workflow management is really nice when you import your classes through Google Classroom.
Megan, going into that workflow,
Yeah.
are you able to add a co-teacher to the account to be able to see it, or is it one person at a time for each class?
So do you mean in Edpuzzle add a co-teacher?
Yes.
I don't believe so.
I didn't think so either, but I wanted.
But if the co-teacher was in your Google Classroom and you imported the class through Google Classroom and you're posting it directly to Google Classroom and you're exporting the grades after to Google Classroom, that co-teacher would naturally be in the loop of all that information.
Okay, but if they had a short answer question within the Google,
oh, I see,
or within the Edpuzzle that needed to be graded, that wasn't automatically graded, only the teacher who assigned it within Edpuzzle would be able to see that information without having to download that.
I believe so. I believe so. I can look into that, but I did not see any option when I went into Edpuzzle to add teachers or co-teachers or anything like that.
Oh, Marie, you're amazing.
What did Marie say?
She just put a support in here.
Oh, great. Thanks, Marie. Okay, and then over here on the bottom right-hand side, you can see you have some other options too. If you want to share the assignment, maybe that, I don't think that would share grades though.
Yes, you can add a co-teacher to it.
How about that? That's
Thanks, Marie.
So that information will be in the chat if anybody wants to check that out. This Go Live is a new feature. It basically turns your Edpuzzle into a live game that you would be managing. This wouldn't work so great for right now during remote learning, but that you could manage as a class. So you could start it, kids would go on there, and then like you would be moving to the next question, and students would be kind of doing that live with you, and you can keep track of scores, kind of add that gamification competitive piece to it. All right. So that's your gradebook feature there. So again, my classes up at the top is where you would start when you want to import your classes in. And just a quick note, if you do bring your Google Classroom in and say a student joins later to that class, I did find that you do need to go ahead and import students again. So every time you click this button, it would just check Google Classroom and add anybody that's joined or take out anybody that has left your Google Classroom. You got your gradebook here so that you can go back and see that valuable data after those lessons are done. And then content is where you do all the magic. It's where you find your videos, where you do your editing of the videos. And again, my content is your library. So everything that you're working with is going to be stored here for you until you delete it. And if you ever did want to delete something, let's say you reached that 20 max or you were getting close and you wanted to do some cleaning up, you just click on the video and then down below you'll see here that you have some choices. Move to a folder. If this starts to become something you want to organize, you can create folders right here where you go to add content, and then you can move those videos in folders. Duplicate, unselect, delete, some of those choices down there for you.
Megan, would you please review one more time on, let's say you found a video on YouTube or Edpuzzle, how would you assign that? You went through how to assign something we already had, but can you show again how to do YouTube or Edpuzzle?
Yeah, you bet. So this video, remember I started here on YouTube, I copied this URL up at the top, I pasted it in, and then it opened up in that editing window. So now that I made that video, say that I pulled from YouTube, I can just go ahead and click on this. And I can go right here, select assign. I can decide who's getting this video. You can also, one thing I forgot to mention is you can assign this to all, or you can manually select students, which might be a nice way to do some differentiation. You can turn on closed captions, post it. Oh, this one I can't post in Google Classroom because this one wasn't imported. But that is how you would go about assigning those videos that you've created that you pulled either from YouTube, Khan Academy, or wherever else.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions or tips that would be helpful?
Amanda, did that answer your question? Great. Again, are there any other questions?
I think at this time, I'm going to go ahead and